Commander Legends is back, and I can't wait to see what amazing legendary creatures from Magic's 30-year history we'll get to play with this time. I sure hope we get a new Grandmother Sengir. Wait, Dungeons & Dragons Battles for Baldur's Gat? Oh, I see. Well, that's cool too, I suppose, because if it's one thing Commander players want, it's non-Magic IP in a Commander set instead of cards from throughout Magic's history. I mean, it's not all bad. There are certainly some interesting figures in the history of Dungeons & Dragons that didn't make it into the last D&D set, so sure. Normally, when a new set comes out, I do a top 5 cards for Commander, focusing on the 99. But with Battle for Baldur's Gate being a Commander-focused set, I feel like switching it up. I mean, I'm still going to do the top 5 cards in the 99. Content! But presented here are my top 5 new Commanders from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate, along with some recommendations for strategies to pursue when building around them. With all of these Dungeons & Dragons players coming into Magic through sets like this and that last core set, I guess we shall have to see if Wizards of the Coast can keeps them playing the game after this set. And speaking of which, this video is brought to you by Keeps, a subscription men's health brand for hair loss prevention. See that transition to the ad read? Flawless, absolutely flawless. I'm a pro. We're going to Keeps playing Magic, and you maybe want to Keeps your hairline. Now, of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with balding or going bald. Super sexy people are both, and so are you. But maybe you simply choose to want to keep your hairline, and you see it starting to be on the decline. What do? Well, that's where Keeps comes in. It helps you take control of the health of your hair. Keeps is just the generic version of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products. It's actual medication. And you work with a licensed doctor via online consultations so that you can get the generic version of those medications. So that's Keeps, medication at a huge savings. And it's available for you should you want it. The medication is delivered right to your door, all of which makes for a safe, secure, and easy process. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being bald or going bald, but there's also nothing wrong with wanting to keep your hair, to present yourself as you wish to present yourself, and for many of us, Keeps is just a tool to do just that. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Tolarian or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/Tolarian. Roll for critical success with Keeps, just like you roll for critical success in Magic the Gathering now, apparently. Yeah. Thank you, Keeps, for sponsoring this video. And thank you, Dungeons & Dragons, for Magic the Gathering. It's D&D. Hey, there's a Lord of the Rings set coming out, and it's going to be modern legal. Before we begin, let us start with an honorable mention. Miirym, Sentinel Worm. Miirym is a brand new dragon tribal commander for 3 generic, a green, a blue, and a red. It is both flying and Ward 2 and reads, whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a copy that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that creature is legendary. Look, I know there have been many powerful dragon tribal commanders in Magic's history, and no, Miirym doesn't beat out Scion of the Ur-Dragon, the Ur-Dragon itself, or even Tiamat for the top spot. But Miirym Sentinel Worm does something new and exciting by putting a focus on enter the battlefield effects, and I felt it deserved an honorable mention here. I also don't think Commander should be a format where everyone is only playing a Commander because it is the most optimal and most powerful, and sometimes maybe they pick a worse Commander for fun, or for different effects, or I don't know. Anyway, I think Think of Miirym as a cross between Panharmonicon and Parallel Lives. How does dealing with 8 damage to each opponent with your red dragons sound? How about dealing 6 damage to each creature without flying from a pair of thunder dragons? Demanding Dragon forces an opponent to either sacrifice a creature or take 5 damage when it enters the battlefield. And now 2 opponents must make that brutal choice. We can win quickly by tutoring for 2 artifacts with our hoarding dragons, such as Grindstone and Painter's Servant. With all these dragons running around, let's add a Scourge of the Valkus. With 2 of them, Miirym's Sentinel Worm on the battlefield, that's 4 triggers each time we successfully resolve a dragon. Being in green and blue gives us access to Temur Sabertooth and Crystal Shard, letting us easily bounce one of our dragons back to hand to recast for even more value. Remember, dragons are mana intensive, so let us be sure to run lots of ramp, including the brand new Ganix Astral Hunter. Ganix gives us a treasure token whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under our control, helping to offset the expense of these soaring serpents of doom. Starting off, our top 5 proper is Lae'zel, Vlak's champion. Aren't you an English major? Don't you know how to pronounce Vlak, Lae'zel, Miirym, boop? Gosh. Anyway, for 2 and a white, Lae'zel, Vlakith's champion, is a legendary 3/3 Gith warrior that reads, if you would put 1 or more counters on a creature or planeswalker you control, or on yourself, put that many plus 1 of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. What's more, Lae'zel, Valkyrie's champion, has the new Choose a Background ability that allows us to put a new type of enchantment called a background into the command zone with our commander. While there are many options, I personally think Master Chief is our best choice simply because I love Halo. Is Master Chief Halo? I honestly just played GoldenEye. I'm just trying to sound hip and relevant in a Magic the Gathering video. Wait, what? Oh, Master Chef. Well, that's a legendary enchantment background for 2 and a green that reads, commander creatures you own have, this creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And other creatures you control enter with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. +1/+1 counters are nothing new to white and green, but rarely has there ever been such an efficient way to realize this strategy in the command zone. Between Lazatop and Master Ramsey, a team of 1/1 tokens becomes a force to be reckoned with. Speaking of 1/1 tokens, Secure the Wastes and Call the Coppercoats are must-haves. Cathar's Crusade is a no-brainer here, and Inspiring Call will draw us plenty of cards. Damning Verdict keeps our opponent's boards clear for our creatures to attack, and Unbreakable Formation protects our own board should something go awry. As a finisher, I recommend Sigarda's Summons, which turns all our creatures with +1/+1 counters into angels, with 4/4 base power and toughness. Combined with all those +1/+1 counters, our Heavenly Host will be unstoppable. Next on the list is Alaundo the Seer, a 3/5 human shaman for 2 generic, a green and a blue that reads, tap, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand and put a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. It gains when the last time counter is removed from this card. If it's exiled, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste until end of turn. Then remove a time counter from each other card you own in exile. Time counter shenanigans, eh? Let's make some big creatures, shall we? Exiling a Blightsteel Colossus, It That Betrays, or Apex Devastator is the way to go if you ask me. Wait, isn't that a lot of time counters, you ask? Sure is, but I wouldn't have suggested this strategy without knowing a few ways of making time move faster. Kiora, Behemoth Beckoner, is a 7 loyalty planeswalker that allows us to untap a creature every turn at the cost of only 1 loyalty. Kiora's follower does the same by tapping itself, as does Epheto Alchemist. Cast a Mobilize, Vitalize, or Dramatic Reversal to untap all your creatures and start the process all over again. On the other hand, Freed from the Real and Pemin's Aura untap the creatures they enchant at the cost of only 1 blue mana, meaning you can keep untapping, then retapping Alaundo the Seer as long as you have the mana. But who says you only get to play this whole thing out once per turn cycle? Seedborn Muse makes it so that every turn, including those of our opponents, is one that moves us ever closer to Omniscience or, I don't know, Jin-Gitaxi's Core Augur? Coming in at number 3, we have Karlach, Fury of Avernus. A 5/4 Tiefling Barbarian. When Karlach attacks, so long as it's the first combat step of the turn, we get to untap all of our creatures and take an extra combat step. What's more, all of our creatures get first strike. Karlach, like Lae'zel, allows us to choose a background to go with them into the command zone. What could possibly go wrong with backgrounds? This time around, I suggest Flaming Fist, which for 2 and a white gives our commander double strike. That's right, we're going Voltron. Auras that provide a power boost and some evasion are going to be key here. Spirit Mantle, Griff's Boon, and Call to Serve grant a small power boost along with flying, while Dragon Mantle, Madcap's Skills Yo, and Giant Spectacle give menace along with their boosts, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. With Flaming Fist on the battlefield and any one of these attached to Karlach, that's game over for a single opponent in one turn. With Morag, Fury of Akum, or Port Razor, that could mean game over for multiple opponents on a single turn. Just to be sure, let's throw in a Waves of Aggression, World at War, and Seize the Day, too. Oh, and Crashing Drawbridge to give Karlach haste. This deck practically builds itself. So what are my 2 top picks from Commander Legends 2? Well, for my final 2 picks, I wanted to do something different. +1/+1 counters, extra combat steps, and cheating in big spells are all powerful strategies, but they are hardly novel. I wonder what would happen if they made a commander that rewarded us for doing something small that we already do, like Impulse Draw. Well, they did. I present to you Faldorn, Dreadwolf Herald. Faldorn, Dreadwolf Herald is a 3/3 human druid for 1, a red, and a green that reads, whenever you cast a spell from exile or land enters the battlefield under your control from exile, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. She also taps to exile the top card of our library, which we can then play that turn, at the cost of 1 generic mana and discarding a card. That should be useful in a pinch, but it's the first clause that really interests me. Red Impulse Draw, as the act of exiling cards from the top of one's library, has really become a major part of the game in recent years. Outpost Siege lets us do so once per turn, as does Urabrask, Heretic Praetor, and a trio of 4-mana Chandra Planeswalkers. You go Fire Artisan, you go Pyromancer, you go Torch of Defiance, you go the other one. There's another one, right? I always forget the last one. Reckless Impulse and Rob the Archives are efficient ways to get started while you build up toward Ignite the Future and Commune with Lava. Jessica's Will is probably the best impulse draw ever printed. If only we could get it reprinted, with it both exiling 3 cards and granting us a burst of mana to help cast them, so long as we control our commander. Oh, and by the way, who says we only get to cast our own cards from exile? Itali, Primal Storm, adds Insult to Injury by using our opponent's resources against them while fortifying our own. With these and more, our pack of wolves is bound to grow quickly. To maximize our efforts, let's run both Parallel Lives and Doubling Season. As for finishers, few things beat out Coat of Arms, Craterhoof Behemoth, or Triumph of the Hordes. Yes, those are conventional endings, maybe. Okay, certainly. But thanks to Faldorn, Dreadwolf Herald, the strategy that got us there is truly unique. Well, what could possibly be my number 1 pick among the new commanders from Battle for Baldur's Gate 2 Legends Commander? It's the Sage of Shadowdale himself, Elminster. For 3, a white, and a blue, you get a 5 loyalty Planeswalker that can be our commander. Now remember, Elminster is not actually a Planeswalker, as in the character or the lore. He's just a Planeswalker card, but he's not a Planeswalker. Got it? Good. His +2 ability lets us draw a card, then scry 2, a useful ability on any commander, and his -3 ability exiles the top card of our library to create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon tokens equal to the exile card's mana value. Both are decent abilities, but it's Elminster's static ability that is the most intriguing. Whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. Are you winning by scrying into huge spells? Fantastic! Obviously, Elminster helps us get started with that +1 ability, but for good measure lets us add some other scrying to keep moving up the chain. Opt, Serum Visions, and Preordain help fuel some medium-sized scry spells like Augury Owl, Tamiyo's Epiphany, and Foresee, which in turn fuel larger scry spells like Ugin's Insight and Diviner's Portent. Now the stage is set for some truly spectacular plays. Make ridiculous amounts of tokens with Stormherd and Finale of Glory. Take extra turns with Time Stretch, or steal your opponent's things with Blatant Thievery. Do both with Expropriate, or just win outright with a dramatically reduced Enter the Infinite Thassa's Oracle combo, or maybe even Approach of the Second Sun twice in one turn. Making sure we hit the right cards is paramount, and while all that scrying certainly helps, Sensei's Divining Top adds an extra layer of depth to our strategy. The most powerful card we can possibly play, however, is Mystic Speculation. For single blue, we get to scry 3, but wait, Mystic Speculation has a buyback cost of 2. Combined with Elminster, that means as long as we have blue mana to spend, we can buy back Mystic Speculation over and over and over again for free, churning through our deck to find exactly what we need in the process. That, my friends, is what we call broken, and that is exactly why the old mage Elminster is my #1 commander pick from Commander Legends 2, Battle for Baldur's Gate. But now I want to hear from you. Which legends from Commander Legends 2 are you most excited to build Commander decks around, and why? What strategies are you going to take with those decks? How are you going to make them different and distinct? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Tolarian or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/Tolarian. There's nothing wrong with being bald or going bald, but there's a lot of people out there who simply want a tool to help them keep their hairline. And if that's you, that's where Keeps comes in. Thank you, Keeps, for sponsoring this video. Welcome to Shuffle Up and Play. We have Jamie Parks, Splinter Twin, LSV's Birthing Pod.
Jamie Park was the first pro Magic player that I looked up to.
And I'd also like to advocate that I despise Luis.
No card in any of our decks can be over $1.
What am I supposed to find with $1? We might as well just play Popper then. What's the point?
It goes the fastest because it's red. It's statistically more likely to be pulled over by the police, so it means it goes faster.
I'm going to throw that Sarah avatar.
What kind of 7 is this?
Down to 5, down to 5, down to 5, down to 5, down to 5.
Would you like to pay the 2?
Guess what, baby? I ain't doing jack.